Rappers starting podcasts cause they all talkers. Who the real big steppers and who the mall walkers?
Starks.
Look.
What's going on? Ladies and gentlemen, it's your host with the most, the best from the Midwest, the overweight lady lover, the husky heartthrob, the Waffle House legend, your not so local supervillain. Ladies want him. Men, they want to be him. Your global icon and national treasure. Oh yeah, Starks. I'm sorry, I was real hot into the microphone. AKA Big Sexy, AKA Hollywood Starks Hogan, AKA Big Chowder, AKA the Dark Skin Dynamo, AKA Go Grab the Bill, AKA the Messiah of Maniacal Menagerie, AKA Starksky Hutchinson, AKA Chase Manhattan, AKA Big Papa Blunt, AKA Chase Money, AKA God Body, aka the Wave Cap Warrior, aka did the PayPal clear yet, baby? Woo! And please, please, don't forget to stay true and remember, keep killing shit. I welcome you back to another episode of I Should Have Done This a While Ago. And if you haven't picked it up from that long-ass intro, my name is Starks. So let's get into business, man. I'm having fun. I like doing this. So I want to get into my journalistic integrity, right? I want to get my my Clark Kent on. Right? So today I want to talk about the Scene magazine and best of. So the previous episode, I explained that I had ran for Scene magazine's best of hip hop artist and best author last year, and we got third for best author, but we did not place for best hip hop artist. So naturally, that led to me. It was like, what the fuck's going on? So to find out what the fuck is going on, we did a little research. We dove into the data. Let's give a little backstory of how we got to me even stepping into the chat. How did the villain get here to be in the Scene magazine running? I know people would like to know. Oh, man. So let's give the prologue. Beforehand, Marcus Storm, let's give it up for him. He had previously placed third for it, and it caused a little bit of uproar. They had lost to, I believe it was Toby Raps. I'm sorry, I don't want to do all the screen sharing and going back and forth. If you would like to see this information, I'm not even going to lie to you. You can go see it for yourself. I am going to show a couple of cool, like, various things here and there. But, like, today, no, you about to catch this words, this wisdom, right? You're going to catch me pontificating. So, yeah, so they lost to Toby Raps, right? And everybody was in uproar about that one, right? This is probably like the second year or so that that somebody who wasn't a real representation of our culture winning something about our culture, right? So caused a little uproar, a little distress. The streets were going crazy. They didn't really like that at all. And Marcus was kind of like caught in the crossfire from what I could see from my outside perspective. Now, I haven't reached out to these gentlemen to interview them about this, but this was, like how I said, this was literally me just watching this train wreck unfold throughout life, right? Throughout the courses of these months or whatever happening. And this is now years in the making. So this happens. And Malik is like, like, fuck y'all and who are y'all? This shit's whack. And I agree. Everything about it was whack. It all looked whack. It looked corny as fuck. I didn't support it. I didn't like how it looked. I didn't like how it sounded. I didn't like how it felt. It just wasn't it. Just wasn't the vibe. I completely agree with him on that one. But he goes about it in this like malicious way, I would say. And it leads to a battle between Marcus Storm and Malik X. Right? And this footage is out there, and I will not show this footage. But the footage is out there, and the battle does not go in Marcus's favor. Malik wins, and he walks off feeling as if he is the undisputed Cleveland rap champion. Right? Can't really take that away from that guy at that point in time. So he walks away from that night riding lightning, feeling like the man. And this leads to, I believe, like some, like an actual, I won't say actual, I guess an actual beef, because it results into like diss tracks. So like Cleveland was doing this like dissing for the top spot thing before Drake and Kendrick were doing it. Like Cleveland niggas was like really getting at it, right? And I feel like Malik put out a whole project that was like Rap Champ or whatever, and it was like drived towards like this whole thing. He had like diss records. Now I don't think Marcus, I don't think he replied at this point in time. I think he replies like later on, but by this point I just wasn't invested into this beef or drama, because you were just actual real people. And it's not that many of us within this culture and intersection. And when I say us, like, it's a dying art form. As you even go see through the years, if you go through and look, it goes from like MC to hip hop artist. You feel me? And like, that's just a bastardization of our culture. It's just watering it down. So I can even say like, it's not that many of us now. So like, we shouldn't be fighting amongst us. Like, that's not the war to be had, fellas, if we're going to go to war. So the gentlemen break off. It goes into this, right? Malik goes into this tear. He goes, all off, and he battles a couple more people, right? I'm not sure how many or so, but I know one of them doesn't really like hitch off that well. I think it gets canceled or something of the sorts or whatever, right? And then we have a whole nother cycle of a year, right? And this leads to an end result of like somebody actually branding and looking for the #1 headband spot, which was genius, right? That's what needs to happen. Let's put a pin in that, right? We were out here fighting for something that wasn't ours. And that was a huge problem with black people and culture. We're so disenfranchised where we don't want to claim and own things, or we just don't understand the principles of ownership or the power of it, right? So instead of making our own thing, we were trying so hard to fight to get into these other people's system that just ultimately doesn't want us. And even for myself, I'm fighting to tear that system down and show the exploitation of it. If this is the largest platform, it ain't saying shit about us. It don't care. It's not that. So we need to find other avenues. But that's what's going on now anyways, right? More content, more user-generated content is popping up. So more blogs and things are happening, right? It's just inevitable. They just have to keep growing. It's running in a cycle. Right? As it's funny, as we go look through the time periods of like 2009 is when the blog area was like real popping and everything going, right? And we see it die and it changes into this thing or whatever have you. But now it's coming back around to where the user generated content is key. So like people's music and movies, personal recommendations, their food recommendations, these things hold so much weight. But I digress. And we see that we noticed within Scene magazine that ultimately, no, they did not want us into this, right? And it shows with the previous years. Um, it was several people who were within the culture, um, from your Toby Raps, your Mighty Miscellaneous, and a 4-year run of MGK from 2018 to 2016. MGK wins Best Artist, right? We could show that. Nah, anyways, but you can go see this. MGK wins Best Artist, but like 2015 is when Till I Die comes out. So, but he doesn't win it for 2015 because hey, they weren't even they didn't give a fuck about hip hop at that point. Hell, from 2015 to 2010, they didn't showcase or cover Best Hip Hop Artist. It became a bash. I had to stop using that word. They started showing best DJs, best clubs, other venues, other things like that, but it wasn't a showcase of the actual best hip hop artist or group, right? And this is, as we're saying, from 2015 to 2010. 2015 is when Till I Die drops, right? That album doesn't come out till 2016 or something of the sorts. But yeah, this holds him over. By 2018, I believe he's like transitioned to making alternative music. Like he just wasn't making hip hop really anymore or whatever. Not a fan, not my jam, whatever. But it's even furthermore to support the case of they don't care about us. Plain and simple. And they'll make the story up that they want to tell. Right? Cool beans, whatever you're into. So I started noticing, and I'm looking at the credibility of this company, right, of this publication, their journalistic integrity, right? 2012, we find the best bar for hookups. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that we care about, right? So in my mind, when I see that, I was automatically like, all right, man, this can't really have that much validity if this is what we care about. The quintessential best bar to hook up in. What we get? Let's run it back. Oh yeah. Let's run that back because that is like hilarious. But while we got the screen popping and rocking, we're gonna show you some more cool stuff. Yeah, this was funny. I was like, ugh. No, it's not Katy Perry. Uh-oh. Come on, man. Oh. That probably will help. Come on, man. Gotta close the tabs, huh? Feel like somewhere in the middle. Where we at? What was the best song? Cliff Diver. All right. Oh, yes. And the staff pick of Wild Boy. Oh, my God. Yeah, like I said, man, just completely unhinged of like what are we doing? What are we doing? Best hipster bar, whatever, dog. It just shows that it's just like it's bullshit. For lack of better words, man. Like, what are they even talking about? What are they even talking about? Where is it at? I love how this happens every time. Oh, best hip hop club. Okay. That's cool. Oh, there, like I said, best bar for hookups. Great. Great. Smooth move, man. Real nice. But hey, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. Um, but you know, let's not take that away away from those guys. But that's this publication. Um, like we said, it's 2012. They're a little weird there. 2011, it's the best hip hop club, Earth nightclub. That's a prominent thing. 2011, it's funny, right? We go look at it, right? Um, we get to the art scene from what I was seeing. It's like a dude rapping, but there ain't no rap category. Like, what the fuck is that? What is that even all about, man? That is hilarious. Show it. You're making a fool of me. Yeah, right. It's like a whole thing happening, man. I feel like there's a dude like drawing like a whole scene, right? This dude's rapping, obviously. No rap category. Whatever. Let's keep pushing. 2010. Best album was Brothers by the Black Keys. Give it up for those guys. I didn't know they were from Akron. That's cool. 2009. It shows they're more biased. The best music blog that's not us. What kind of category is that, brother? What kind of category is that, brother? The best music blog that's not us. Whatever. Y'all doing such a grand thing. I guess it was supposed to be cheeky. It's supposed to be funny or whatever. But like it didn't really age that well. Right? And like the context of the joke is like missed. I had to read that to be like, okay, I guess. But that was like the whole hip hop had become a different sound by 2009. So they were trying to hold on to the golden era, golden sound of that like mid to early 90s. Where we at? Boom. 2009, best rapper to ever on your mixtape. Chip the Ripper. Let's give it up for that, right? Which is like cool and dope. Because like Chip was dude here. And he had started getting some national success. And I was like, oh shit, right? We like cool, man. I really don't have a gripe against Chip winning that because he doesn't get another year where this thing like runs and happens for him. But by this time, he had already worked with Kid Cudi. So like this is another famous dude winning this local award. Can't really hate on him. Give it up for Chip. Sidebar. Interesting thing. I had a friend over. Shouts out to Leon So Fresh. He was over, right? And we were was cooking up some pizzas. And we were watching Black Jesus. And he ends up leaving, right? And like the next episode I'm watching, I look up and I'm like, hey man, ain't that Chip the Ripper? And then like it's just Chip in the entourage in the Coolio episode. And I was like, oh, okay, give it up one time. Smoke one for Cleveland. Give it up for old Chip the Ripper in the background. There we go. Yeah, that's Chip up under this paradise. But yeah, give it up for Chip the Ripper and Charlie Murphy. um, but yeah, give it up for that, man. Give it up for Chip for being in that show, and give it up for Cleveland one time. Stand up, man. Um, so as we mash on, like we said, that's 2009. Chip the Ripper. I believe we saw the best hip hop like duo was Mick Boogie and Terry Urban. 2007 we saw the emergence of the best beat makers for the kick drums, which is amazing in itself. And I think that was like the first time that had appeared. 2007 also was the year of Corey Bapes. So that was a big run and a big push for him. That's always dope to see Corey Bapes get listed for things, right? Which is a nice piece of Cleveland hip hop history. Because he was like really bubbling, man, and like it's awesome to see him transition to gospel and giving it up for the Lord and prospering, man. So that's really dope, man. It's always good to see Corey Bapes, man. All love for that guy. And then where we go for 2006? What's up there? It was something pertinent for 2006. We saw the first time for the best podcast, right? Which is like insane there. In 2006, we also saw the category of freaking best wrestling promotion, right? And which is like another piece of like uncovering history, which we're like more, we have to do this and cover and document and like, so we can uncover things, right? So 2006, they put up best wrestling promotion, and it is absolute intense wrestling, right? And I didn't know that promotion had been running that long, but that's awesome, man. Yeah, right. Cleveland Celtic podcast or Celtic, whichever one you want to do. Where we at? Best music to ease a heartbreak. Come on, brother. But yeah, it was like you get this, and but regardless, it's gonna drive me insane. Where are you at? Give it up for Real Time Blues. This is why Joe Rogan hires somebody to like scroll and find document stuff for him. But also too, this is why I wrote down these show notes. But I also want like I feel like we're getting warm. We're getting hot. We're almost there, fellers. Bam! There we go. Best wrestling promotion. Absolute intense wrestling. And they cover it all the way through, right? And which is really, really dope to see when you go look at it. They talk about Raymond Rowe, and I had to go look him up. And Raymond Rowe is Eric Rowe from War Raiders, right? Which is dope. another Cleveland legend, another titan of the industries showing up, man. and killing it. Even people were there and they're shining and they're winning, and like that's awesome, man. And they were talking about that guy getting covered for like a dark match, right? Which is amazing. And to like see him now a tag team champion, right? It's amazing, man. Just keep plugging, keep grinding. That's that long form storytelling right there. So like shouts out to Scene Magazine for being able to have that information up there for you to be able to go look and see that that he was, and he was getting good and getting a prominent start there, and it was cooking up for him. And two, that he's from Cleveland. And three, that they were giving light to independent wrestling in this particular way in 2006. Now within my research, it had never shown up again since 2006, but it's awesome that they were talking about it back then, right? Hey, we'll take the wins when we can. Speaking of more wins, 2005, that's the last place that I stopped because I wanted to end at like a even point. So 2005, this was the first time I believe that they put the best MC, and it was Drastic, which is amazing because Drastic is still making music till this day and still spitting fire. A really, really, really good, solid artist, a awesome performer. I got a funny Drastic story. At a point in time, I was going to try C, and I was sitting in like the lobby or waiting area, and it was like the recording arts like degree or whatever. So it was like the area where people were like making music, and this was like pretty early on to this thing becoming a actual thing or whatever, right? So like we got the recording arts joint or whatever have you, and like I want to say this was after he had won, because like I had already been out of high school at this point, so like he had already won shit. So like he sees me sitting, I'm waiting for like either a class or like a ride or something like that. But anyways, I'm waiting, sitting, comes up to me. He's like, yo, man, you want to check out my CD? I'm like, yeah, man, sure. And he was like, all right, man, like $5. I'm like, I don't really got it. But he gave me the CD regardless. And it was dope. And it was really cool to check him out. But that was like a looking at it, like his branding and packaging was like all the way together. Like it was like a full on CD. So like it was very, very well deserving for him to be like, hey man, I'm gonna need at least the $5 for this, because like I said, it's like 2008 maybe or whatever, right? Like so like you really were paying for them graphic designs, like, and taking photos or whatever have you, and getting that paper cut and getting that CD pressed up. So like I truly understand the hustle and grind on that one. But yeah, 2005 we hit that one. And from this like splitting event here, right? We notice like we get like dips in time. 2015 to 2010, if we were, paying attention, there was no coverage of hip hop. But as we see as those awards back there behind me, there was still coverage of hip hop. 2010, Rebel Army Radio, Ohio Hip Hop Awards, like they were really doing it and going bigger, right? And Ohio Hip Hop Awards was more earlier as well, but like that was like a whole statewide thing, right? And it was just beautiful. But yeah, it was bigger. Right, it was larger than all of this, and it was just solely focused on hip hop, and it was solely focused on hip hop from specific regions, right? So, but it was a very robust thing to do, the Ohio Hip Hop Awards, right? Just awards in itself. Like, I've never put on an award show, but I could only imagine like the complexity of the situation of getting presenters and getting the little awards and getting the people there and getting audience and getting performers and just the venue and like all of that, man. Like, it's hectic, right? And then getting media coverage for this event to make it worthwhile, right? It's just insane, right? But something happens and the Ohio Hip Hop Awards goes under, and like nobody picks up the mantle for it. And the Rebel Army Radio Awards, like Jesus Zaire switches his focus, and like nobody picks up the mantle for it, right? But then in steps Andrew Lloyd. He enters the chat, and like I'm pretty sure that this was his idea for it. But he saw that these things were leaving and that they were very big for the city and how meaningful they were for like Cleveland and our recognition. So he enters and he does the Ohio Entertainment Awards. And I remember like all the flack that he was catching and the inception of him doing it, right? And this had to have been around this 2010, 2011, 20, like somewhere around, we'll say like 2015 maybe or whatever, but I feel like it was even earlier, right? But around this time as he's like getting it going, right? And here we are, we're in 2020. He's still mashing through. 2025, he's still here and he's mashing through, man. Like, it's that. He's building it, whether or not like you like the presentation, but the representation is needed. So like him going into business and the idea to showcase more of us, that was the saying that was the key. Same thing for like Savage Royale and Stream Space, where like he seen that this was going on with Scene Magazine and like that people were literally about to squabble up about this being the #1 headband. So he goes and he makes Rap Champ, and it's like, from what I understood, it felt like a gauntlet, like almost like a gauntlet match or whatever like that, in like WWE, where like you got to keep fighting through levels and rings and rungs or whatever have you from like crowd participation of songs to make it through to the next level to be crowned the Rap Champ. Which is a very different process versus this internet voting thing or whatever, right? So like, hey, be the change that you want to see. And that's the like overall big arcing thing from like any of this, right? Just even as we bring it back to the 2024 year, right? For me running and seeing all of this previous information and knowing I'm like, all right, so like, let me get here and I want to change and put the MC back into the forefront. And I go through and we're running or whatever have you. And a person that I'm running, or as I alluded to in the previous episode, the dudes that were running, there was a group called South Park, right? And there was no like representation for them online. There's a gentleman called Carl Worthington, and there was no representation for him online. And there was Marcus Storm, and there was myself, right? And it's funny because as I draw a blank, I don't even remember. Oh yeah, and Mighty Miscellaneous, right? It always slips me. But like, instead of any people of color winning, Mighty Miscellaneous wins. I don't know the situation with what was going on with him, whatever happened or anything, right? I never looked further into that, right? But that was the end all results. Yet again, we were fighting for second place. But I fight and I challenge to say this so there's no representation for Carl Worthington. There's no representation for South Park, right? So why did we get snubbed? For what? The whole time throughout the voting process was dominating. Number one. Right? And it shows. And as they go through with the nominations, we went from a write-in ballot to the first in. Right? And then we come into the end-all results to where now we go from first to not even named. And no acknowledgement. But they give us the third on the author. So I don't know what the criteria was, but whatever it was, I didn't meet it. And I don't think it was surely off of votes. I could only have my own suspicions of they want the representation that they would like to have. I've provided this case of years prior of them picking the representation that they would like to have, even down to the point of chronologically, it don't even add up for certain people to win years how they have won. Inexplicably so, that it becomes a thing that it looks predatory. It looks like a deliberate action to keep people out and to change the perception of a particular thing that's going on. Like they're trying to change the perception of Cleveland hip hop and what the scope is, right? By making it this all-inclusive thing instead of showing the whole gambit of Cleveland hip hop, right? I bring this up to where, like, even for myself, where, like, I said earlier, where, you know, those fellas, we don't need to, like, argue, and that's not the war that needs to be had. There's only but so many MCs, but, like, for our city, there's another style of, like, music. We have, like, a whole club scene. We have trap rappers. Like, it's a whole nother life and lane than anything that's going on. So, like, you would be remiss to not include those people. So why are their votes and things not matter, or their representation doesn't matter? They make up a vast majority of the city and for the people who listen to the hip hop, but they don't get the representation for the largest publication in the city. So when you go Google and look up this particular thing, Toby fucking Raps comes up. Fuck out of here, bro. Like, it's sickening. But that's why you got to be the change that you want to see, right? So that's why you got to do the Savage Royale and create the stream space and create the rap champ, right? Don't crash out. Don't don't do the villain and go out and make a bunch of diss songs and all this other stuff. Don't come from that place, right? Attack that system. And figure out a way to get the representation or get the change that you're looking for, right? There's plenty of ways to go about it. And I love that everything yielded results. So in my journeys of this, do I feel like I'm going to run this year? Fuck yeah, man. I feel like I'm going to run this year and be even more obnoxious with it, and maybe even go on like an actual video campaign of taking this to these people's doorsteps and getting the acknowledgement of like what is going on with this. I did notice within the time that they did this, I'm from Cleveland did a like new school class thing, right? And they like had photos of a bunch of different like creators, right? Like photographers, rappers, like singers, all different kind of people or whatever have you, all different influencers or whatever have you. I want to say it's maybe like somewhere between like 15 to somewhere between 10 to 20 people. We'll say that, right? So more of that needs to go on. We just need to take the power out of these people's hands. Stop giving them the light. Stop giving them the ball. Stop giving them the way to dictate, to say what is our culture. That's not it. So that's my little rant. That's my spiel. Give it up for Marcus Storm. Give it up for Malik X. Give it up for Starks. Give it up for hacking the system. right? Because that's ultimately like the idea. That was the push. That was the wave. That was the thought. That was the groove. Get in here and change it, and that's what we did, right? There was no representation of hip hop in the author category, but a book of rhymes. A book of rhymes made it to third, right? But I could not place for the rap stuff. Just saying. Before we get out of here, right? Episode 2, you know what we do. Let's talk about what I've been watching. And it's funny because I already brought it up in the episode, but we'll kick it back to it. It's free. You can do this right now. It's streaming on Tubi. Black Jesus. You can go check that out, man. It's a banger. If you haven't watched that series, I implore you to watch the first 2 seasons. I don't know what went on with season 3. A lot of characters left. That might be something we go discover and deep dive on. Who knows, man? If you want to see the episode about like what happened in Black Jesus season 3, we'll do that. But also on there, I saw that they have Outlaw Johnny Black. That's a cool film. It's a Western, and as you, hey, I'm this guy. There's not that many Westerns of people of color, right? And as we're the main lead, and we're not thrown into like a servant or a hand kind of a role. So Outlaw Johnny Black is from the same people. I won't say same people, but the production company that Michael Jai White has. They did Black Dynamite. So it's predominantly black cast, whatever have you, telling a Western. And it's funny. You get Tony Baker, Tommy Davidson, yeah, man, it's just a nice cast of people, man. And it's just, I won't say I laugh a minute, but it's jokes. It's funny, man. Outlaw Johnny Black, that's a good one. And I also, free nod here, I done gave you so many for free on the house. Meet the Blacks. These films that I've named outside of Black Jesus are all independent, right? Outlaw Johnny Black, they crowdsourced some fund to get this, and like that was the production they made, and it's awesome because I believe it did make it to films. Meet the Blacks was the same way, crowdfunded and sourced, and it made it to theaters as well. Same, and made it to be able to get a sequel. So if you can, check out those independent films, independent black films, and Black Jesus. What have I been listening to? Honestly, without a like without like a wholehearted like selfish plug, it was Most Electrifying. That content performed pretty well for me, so I had to like double back, and I was like, oh man, you was kind of in your bag. But yeah, that's what I've been listening to. Most Electrifying by Starks. Yeah, man, that's looking like the end of this episode of I Should Have Done This a While Ago. We're getting cooking. We're warming up. We're getting used to it. Journalist Starks, you know what I'm saying? Uncovering, you know, what we can one step at a time. First episode, I laid down some Easter eggs or whatever have you, right? So this was Stark's first Scene magazine. And then we're going to get into Stark's first Spotify. And we're going to talk about the evil corruption of streams and why that's all fucked up. And possibly how we even get there. And where we're going to go. So yeah, my name is Starks. This is I Should Have Done This a While Ago. Check out Starks.com. I'm not going to plug no social medias or whatever like that because I want that data. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy. Too sweet me if you see me. Peace.